All right. Well, since you did that song, you've had quite a long career after that. In fact, currently you're actually working in China. How did that come about?
Well, 3.5 years ago, I was invited to score a live, you can call it a musical, but it was actually the largest multimedia event in the world. It was called Illusions, just outside of Shanghai. And they had 5 composers who failed at doing the task because the whole show was told through music and there wasn't any language. And it was a very big task. They had 5 Chinese composers who wrote basically Chinese music. And what they really needed was Lord of the Rings, 400-piece orchestra and choir kind of thing. They had invested an enormous amount of money, much more than we would ever spend in this country, to create a show that would be on the world stage with actors from all over the world. And when they came to Los Angeles to find composers, I had met the chairman, and he fell in love with my film score and music because it was kind of what they were looking for. It was very epic. A lot of my film scores have that epic sound with full orchestration, Prokofiev, Rachmaninoff, choir, and that's what ended up happening. And this show took 1.5 years to build. The CGI for the film took 4 years to make. And it was basically a show on an enormous stage that was built for us with an 180-degree screens, 8 stories high. And then in front of it were 60 actors, some of them being Cirque du Soleil and part of the New York Ballet. And that put me on the map in China. And since I had successfully completed the mission of doing a musical of such stature, I was approached by a wonderful organization where they have a collection of masters from around the world in their field, and they are partners to help better and further the creation and the understanding of Chinese composers.
So what else do you like about China besides getting an opportunity to work on music there? What's the country like for those of us who haven't been there?
Well, it's mostly surprising for everybody who's never been there. I've been there for 4 years, but it's not that I'm there full time. I'm still based in California, in Los Angeles, and I have a studio in both Los Angeles and Shanghai. And what we love about China is that they are open to experimenting. The process is much more different than it is here. Here we spend years and years planning things. There they spend a couple of months planning things and then put it into action and see how it turns out. And for any artist, I think it's a wonderful thing to be in the sandpit of experimentation. And there are amazing people that I have become connected with in the film industry and actually in all industries who are all part of the same consortium that we are. It's actually called the Tao, which means the way. And it's almost like an enormous think tank of world leaders coming together to create something new. And I think it's wonderful. And the other thing that I'm going to say will surprise most people. Living in Shanghai is like living in Paris and New York on steroids. It is nothing really Chinese about it, although it is China. It was actually the area that I live in is called the former French concession, and it was built by the French. So in essence, living in Shanghai is much more enjoyable in many ways than living in other parts of the world.
That's really neat. So what's some of the other stuff you've worked on recently in either place?
Well, many things. One of the things that I got to really explore is that I am a concert pianist, and I just have a new sponsorship by Bosendorf. So one of the things we're doing is we're doing piano performances around Asia, which is usually accompanied by the films that I have scored, and it makes for a really interesting new platform of performance. So we're doing that. I'm also getting involved in films and television series in China, and that's an exciting thing. And the great thing about working in China is we're not only scoring for film, I'm scoring for provinces and scoring for cities. I was asked by the mayor of Shanghai to write the soundtrack for Shanghai, and that's been a year-long project. And I just recently scored the Zhejiang province, which is a very wealthy province in China, and the capital of it is called Hangzhou, and it's on a beautiful lake, and the G8 summit's going to be there. So the government officials came to me and they asked our studio in China called Studio Chait to come up with a DNA, the brand of music that depicts what they are and how they're represented to the world. This is a very large project because it involves many people and statistics and research and visuals. So scoring locations in cities and provinces is kind of like scoring the Olympic Games for me.
In what way?
Because it's scoring the emotion that comes out of an event. And how do you feel when you go to Shanghai? And what is the essence of the Zhejiang province? And, because I'm good at encapsulating a 4-minute song to tell you the emotion of a 1.5-hour film, it's a good strand of DNA that goes through everything that is associated with it. So in essence, it's what we call music branding.
Neat. And you mentioned you have a sort of a studio-type establishment that you do work from. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? And it has a website, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Well, actually, if you go to my website, which is markchaitmusic.com, there is a link to the Chinese studio as well. The easiest way to see what's going on in China is to Google my name, first name Mark, second name Chait, and then put the word China in, and then all the Chinese websites come up in respect to what we're doing in China. It's really fascinating. Our organization is called DeTao, which is DETAO, which means it's actually pronounced DeDao, which means the way. And so our studio, we have a staff, we have full scoring facilities, and we just did our official launch and opening of the studio at the end of July 2015. And it's almost like a full music studio / film scoring / sound design studio, and we are a full music solution studio. So if someone wants to do a film and they want to have music and sound effects and sound design and all the above, we fulfill those needs. And, that's kind of the way of the future.
Fantastic. I really love that. Now, do you have any social media accounts you want to plug here? Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Well, the social media accounts that we have basically are something that I'm not sure your listeners can get onto. It's called WeChat. It's the Facebook of China, but it's actually got every application combined. And most of our social media is on that. But also, I'm going to start adding things to YouTube. And the best way for my social media is through my website, which is markchaitmusic.com.
Sounds good. Been great having you on. We've learned some fantastic things, not just about Pokemon, but also about really how the world of music is evolving. Thank you very much, Mark.
You're very welcome.
This has been Stephen Reich from the pokepress studios in Madison, Wisconsin, on the phone with Mark Chait, co-writer of The Power of One song from the second Pokemon movie.